The solar system's outermost research facility stood as a testament to human resilience. Carved deep within a network of modified asteroids, the complex represented humanity's last and most secretive line of defense. Massive electromagnetic shields masked its existence, rendering it invisible to even the most advanced scanning technologies known in the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Chen studied the holographic projections that filled the central command chamber. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, manipulating complex data streams that represented years of intensive research. Around her, a team of specialists worked in near-perfect synchronization, their movements deliberate and focused. The facility had been humanity's most closely guarded secret for nearly 2 decades. What began as a desperate response to early extraterrestrial encounters had evolved into something far more remarkable. Initial contact with the Centauri Collective had revealed a stark reality. Humanity was technologically outmatched and seemingly insignificant in the grand galactic hierarchy. But insignificance, the researchers discovered, could be the most powerful camouflage. The chamber hummed with a subtle energy, a combination of advanced cooling systems and the quantum computing networks that formed the backbone of their research. Massive data cores lined the walls, each one representing petabytes of information gathered from decades of careful observation, interception, and analysis of alien technologies. Incoming data stream stabilizing, announced Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, the lead communication specialist. His voice carried a mixture of excitement and professional restraint. Years of working in this hidden facility had taught the team that emotions were a luxury they could rarely afford. The holographic display shifted, revealing a complex 3-dimensional representation of the approaching alien fleet. Each ship was a marvel of engineering that made human spacecraft look like primitive constructs. Their smooth organic designs suggested technology so advanced they bordered on being indistinguishable from living organisms. Sarah zoomed in on the fleet's configuration, her trained eye catching subtle details that most would miss. The Centauri vessels moved with a mathematical precision that spoke of computational perfection. Every trajectory, every movement was calculated to the most minute parameter. But within that perfection lay a critical weakness, a lack of genuine adaptability. Pattern recognition algorithm is showing something interesting, called out Dr. Elena Martinez, the team's lead data analyst. Her fingers danced across a haptic interface, pulling intricate threads of information into visible patterns. The research team represented the absolute pinnacle of human potential. Each member had been selected not just for their extraordinary intellectual capabilities, but for their ability to think beyond conventional boundaries. They were more than scientists. They were humanity's last hope, architects of a strategy that defied traditional understanding of conflict and survival. Massive screens surrounding the central chamber displayed various data streams. Some showed complex mathematical equations, others revealed intercepted alien communications, and a few depicted geological surveys of potential defensive positions across multiple star systems. The incoming fleet is approximately 3 standard weeks from reaching the inner solar system, Marcus noted, his voice steady. Our window for preparation is closing. Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the holographic display. The team had spent years developing a strategy that was less about military confrontation and more about technological and psychological transformation. Traditional warfare would spell certain doom. Their approach required something far more nuanced and complex. The facility itself was a marvel of human engineering. Constructed within a series of interconnected asteroids, it could reconfigure its internal structure in moments. Entire research sections could be isolated, redirected, or completely masked at a moment's notice. Multiple backup systems ensured that even if portions of the facility were compromised, the core mission would continue. Outside the facility's protective shields, the cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly. To any external observer, this would appear to be just another unremarkable cluster of space rocks. The true complexity lay hidden, waiting, preparing. Begin Phase 1 of Quantum Integration Protocol, Sarah instructed, her voice cutting through the ambient technological sounds of the facility. The team moved with practiced efficiency. Humanity's greatest weapon was about to be unveiled, not a weapon of destruction, but of understanding. In the vast, silent emptiness of space, the most important battle in human history was about to begin. The research complex pulsed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. In a secured laboratory deep within the asteroid facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez carefully monitored a series of quantum processors that represented humanity's most groundbreaking technological achievement. What lay before her was not a weapon in the traditional sense. No massive cannons, no destructive energy systems, no arsenal of missiles could compare to the intricate network of quantum-entangled neural matrices she had spent decades developing. This was a living system of intelligence, an adaptive network that could learn, predict, and respond faster than any known computational method in the galaxy. The Centauri Collective believed in absolute technological superiority. Their civilization had spent millennia perfecting computational models that could predict outcomes with near-perfect accuracy. They viewed conflict as a mathematical equation, where variables could be calculated and controlled with absolute precision. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to introduce genuine unpredictability. Elena watched as the neural network ran multiple simulation scenarios. Unlike traditional artificial intelligence, this system didn't just process information, it experienced it. Each data point was not merely a number, but a potential path of understanding. The processors worked in a way that mimicked the human brain's most remarkable feature, the capacity for creative problem-solving. Quantum coherence is holding at 99.7%, reported Dr. Michael Chen, the lead quantum physicist. His fingers danced across a holographic interface, tracking microscopic changes in the system's behavior. The adaptive response modules are showing unprecedented stability. The laboratory itself was a marvel of engineering. Massive cooling systems surrounded the central processing core, maintaining an environment so precisely controlled that even the slightest temperature variation could be detected and corrected in milliseconds. Layers of electromagnetic shielding protected the most sensitive components, creating a sanctuary of technological innovation. Surrounding the main processing system were dozens of auxiliary research stations. Each represented a different approach to understanding the potential of adaptive intelligence. Some focused on psychological modeling, others on predictive algorithms, and a few explored the boundaries between computational logic and creative thinking. "We're not building a weapon," Elena explained to a junior researcher who had just entered the lab. "We're creating a system of understanding. The Centauri see conflict as a linear progression. We see it as a multi-dimensional conversation." The neural network continued its simulations. Thousands of potential scenarios played out simultaneously, each one exploring different approaches to interaction, communication, and potential resolution. It wasn't calculating how to defeat an enemy, but how to fundamentally transform the nature of the encounter. Dr. Chen brought up a holographic representation of the network's current state. It looked like a living, breathing organism, strands of quantum-entangled data moving and shifting, creating patterns that seemed to defy traditional computational logic. Colors shifted and merged, representing complex decision-making processes that occurred faster than human perception could follow. "The last breakthrough came from an unexpected place," Michael noted, pulling up a historical record. "Our team studied everything from ecological systems to social dynamics, quantum mechanics to artistic expression. True intelligence isn't about processing power, it's about the ability to make connections that others cannot see." The research had drawn inspiration from the most unexpected sources. Biological systems showed remarkable adaptability. Ecological networks demonstrated resilience through diversity. Cultural exchange revealed the power of misunderstanding and reinterpretation. Each of these became a critical component of the adaptive intelligence system. Elena understood the stakes. The East-tier Centauri Collective would arrive expecting a straightforward conflict. They would find something entirely different, a system of interaction that challenged their most fundamental understanding of intelligence and conflict. "Begin integration sequence," she instructed, her voice calm and steady. The neural network responded, its quantum processors humming with potential. Millions of potential interaction scenarios began to take shape, each one a delicate dance of possibility and potential understanding. Humanity's greatest weapon was not destruction. It was the capacity to reimagine what was possible. Outside the WEO laboratory, the vast emptiness of space waited. The Centauri fleet continued its approach, unaware that the most significant encounter in galactic history was about to unfold. Not a battle of destruction, but a moment of profound transformation. The communication center of the hidden research facility buzzed with carefully orchestrated chaos. Commander Sarah Rodriguez stood at the central console, her eyes scanning multiple holographic displays that represented humanity's most intricate defensive strategy. What the approaching Centauri collective would encounter was not a traditional military defense, but a meticulously designed landscape of misinformation and technological misdirection. Quantum encryption protocols are active, reported Dr. Marcus Chen, the lead communications specialist. His fingers moved with surgical precision across a complex interface that seemed to breathe with living data. We're generating multiple layers of communication ghosts that will completely overwhelm their standard scanning protocols. The strategy was breathtakingly complex. Instead of presenting a clear target, humanity would create an information environment so rich and contradictory that the alien fleet's computational systems would struggle to extract meaningful intelligence. Holographic decoys would dance across sensor arrays. Quantum encrypted signals would weave intricate patterns of deliberate confusion, and strategically placed sensor ghosts would create a labyrinth of misinformation. Each display represented a different layer of the defensive strategy. Some showed elaborate holographic projections of potential human settlements, each one designed with microscopic imperfections that would trigger deeper investigation. Others displayed complex communication, patterns that mimicked but never perfectly replicated standard human technological signatures. The key is not deception, Sarah explained to her team, but creating a landscape of possibility that challenges their fundamental understanding of information processing. Massive data cores hummed with activity, generating millions of potential scenarios every second. These were not simple randomized signals, but carefully constructed information packets that contained layers of meaning. Mathematical sequences intertwined with cultural artifacts, scientific data merged with artistic expressions, creating a communication matrix that defied traditional computational analysis. Dr. Elena Martinez, the team's lead data analyst, brought up a holographic representation of the information strategy. It looked like a living, breathing ecosystem, strands of data moving and shifting, creating patterns that seemed to pulse with an almost organic complexity. The Centauri rely on absolute information clarity, Elena noted. Their entire technological framework is built on the assumption that data can be perfectly categorized and understood. We're going to show them the beauty of uncertainty. The communication center had been designed as a marvel of human ingenuity. Layers of electromagnetic shielding protected the most sensitive components, while quantum cooling systems maintained an environment of absolute precision. Yet within this controlled environment, the team was generating something wonderfully unpredictable. Holographic displays showed the incoming alien fleet's progression. Each Centauri vessel moved with mathematical precision, their scanning systems designed to extract maximum information from any encountered environment. They would find something entirely unexpected. Initiate Phase 2 of the perceptual interference. Protocol, Sarah instructed. The room seemed to come alive. Millions of communication packets began to spread across multiple frequency bands. Some carried fragments of human cultural history, snippets of music, mathematical theorems, philosophical discussions. Others generated complex signal patterns that would appear meaningful but ultimately unresolvable. Dr. Chen highlighted a particular communication stream. "Watch this," he said with a hint of professional pride. "We're broadcasting a series of mathematical sequences that contain deliberate inconsistencies. To a human, they'll appear as simple errors. To a computational system designed for absolute precision, they'll create cascading analytical challenges." The strategy went beyond simple misdirection. It was a profound statement about the nature of intelligence. Humanity was not trying to hide. They were inviting the Centauri into a conversation that challenged fundamental assumptions about information, perception, and understanding. Outside the facility, the cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly. The alien fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were about to encounter something far more complex than a traditional defensive system. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to transform challenges into opportunities for understanding. The most important battle would not be fought with weapons, but with imagination. The information ecosystem continued to pulse and shift, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was about to begin, one that would redefine the very concept of first contact. Deep within the research facility, Dr. Marcus Wright stood before a wall of intricate displays, each one revealing a fragment of the most ambitious psychological warfare strategy ever conceived. The team had discovered something profound about the Centauri collective, a critical vulnerability that went far beyond traditional technological weaknesses. The aliens possessed computational systems of unimaginable complexity. Their technology could predict outcomes with near-perfect accuracy, analyze vast datasets in milliseconds, and process information with a precision that made human computational efforts look primitive. But within this apparent perfection lay a fundamental flaw, a complete inability to process genuine randomness and creative divergence. "It's not about breaking their systems," Marcus explained to his junior researchers. "It's about introducing concepts that challenge their entire understanding of information and intelligence." The Psychological Disruption Laboratory was a marvel of interdisciplinary research. Walls lined with neural mapping systems stood alongside cultural analysis databases. Quantum processors worked in tandem with anthropological research, creating a holistic approach to understanding cognitive limitations. Massive holographic displays showed intricate signal patterns, mathematical sequences that deliberately incorporated subtle inconsistencies. These were not simple errors but carefully constructed cognitive challenges designed to create systemic doubt within the Centauri computational framework. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's lead cognitive analyst, brought up a complex visualization. "Notice how these signal patterns introduce micro-variations that cannot be immediately categorized," she pointed out. Her finger traced delicate lines of data that seemed to shift and move with almost organic complexity. The research had drawn from multiple disciplines. Linguistic studies revealed how language creates meaning through context and interpretation. Psychological research demonstrated the human capacity to find patterns in chaos. Artistic expressions showed the power of breaking established rules. Each of these became a weapon in the most unusual conflict humanity had ever conceived. "The Centauri understand computation as a linear process," Marcus noted. "We're going to show them computation as a living, breathing ecosystem of possibility." Signal generators began to create increasingly complex communication patterns. Some broadcasts carried fragments of human cultural history, snippets of music that defied traditional mathematical analysis, philosophical discussions that existed in deliberate conceptual ambiguity, mathematical theorems with intentional logical gaps. The team had developed what they called cognitive dissonance algorithms. These were not traditional communication signals, but carefully constructed information packages designed to challenge fundamental assumptions about perception and understanding. A junior researcher looked puzzled. "How can information itself be a weapon?" Marcus smiled. "Imagine a computational system so precise that it cannot handle genuine uncertainty. We're not attacking their technology. We're introducing it to the concept of imagination. Surrounding the main research area, multiple backup systems ensured the integrity of their approach. Quantum-shielded communication cores could redirect, modify, and regenerate signals faster than any known computational method. Multiple layers of electromagnetic protection created a sanctuary of technological innovation. The psychological disruption went far beyond simple misdirection. It was a profound exploration of the nature of intelligence itself. Humanity was creating a communication matrix that challenged the very foundations of how information could be processed and understood. Begin Advanced Signal Integration Protocol, Elena instructed. The room came alive with a subtle energy. Millions of information packets began to spread across multiple frequency bands. Mathematical sequences danced with cultural artifacts. Scientific data merged with artistic expressions. Each signal carried multiple layers of potential meaning, creating a communication ecosystem that defied traditional computational analysis. Outside the facility, the cold vacuum of space waited. The Centauri fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were about to encounter a form of communication that would challenge everything they understood about intelligence and interaction. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond established boundaries. The most significant battle would not be fought with traditional weapons, but with the most powerful force in the universe: imagination. The signal generators continued to pulse, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was about to begin, one that would redefine the very concept of first contact and intelligent communication. The development laboratory pulsed with an energy that defied conventional understanding of technology. Dr. Sarah Chen watched as the nanoscale machines began their most complex integration yet. These were not mere mechanical devices, but living systems of adaptive intelligence that could transform faster than thought itself. Humanity's breakthrough came from an unexpected convergence of multiple scientific disciplines. Quantum computing, biological mimicry, advanced material science, and cognitive psychology had merged to create something entirely unprecedented. The nanite network was less a technology and more a living, breathing ecosystem of information and adaptation. Initialization sequence beginning, reported Dr. Michael Rodriguez, the lead nanite engineer. His fingers moved across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with living data. Each touch created ripples of potential across the intricate network of microscopic machines. The nanites were unlike anything the Centauri Collective had ever encountered. Where alien technologies relied on rigid, predictable systems, these microscopic machines could completely reconfigure themselves in milliseconds. They didn't just process information, they experienced it, adapted to it, and transformed it in ways that challenged fundamental understanding of technological interaction. Massive display screens showed the nanite network's progression. What appeared to be random movement was actually an incredibly complex system of communication and adaptation. Each nanite worked in perfect synchronization with others, creating patterns of unprecedented complexity. "We're not creating a weapon," Sarah explained to her team. "We're developing a living communication system that can interface with any technological environment." The laboratory itself was a marvel of human engineering. Multiple layers of quantum shielding protected the most sensitive components. Advanced cooling systems maintained an environment of absolute precision, while multiple redundant systems ensured the network's continued evolution. Dr. Elena Martinez brought up a holographic representation of the nanite network. It looked like a living organism, strands of adaptive intelligence moving and shifting, creating patterns that seemed to defy traditional computational logic. Colors shifted and merged, representing decision-making processes that occurred faster than human perception could follow. "The key is biological mimicry," Elena noted, highlighting specific sections of the network. "We've studied everything from neural networks to ecological systems. True intelligence isn't about processing power, it's about the ability to adapt, to learn, to transform." The nanites could do something remarkable. They could interface with virtually any technological system, not by force, but by understanding. Where the Centauri saw technology as a fixed construct, humanity had created a system that viewed technology as a living, breathing conversation. "Watch this," Michael said, bringing up a demonstration. A section of the nanite network approached a complex technological simulation. Instead of attempting to override or destroy, the nanites began to understand. They mapped the system's architecture, identified its fundamental principles, and found ways to communicate within its own logic. Surrounding the main research area, multiple backup systems ensured the integrity of their approach. Quantum-entangled communication cores could redirect, modify, and regenerate the nanite network faster than any known computational method. Multiple layers of electromagnetic protection created a sanctuary of technological innovation. The team had drawn inspiration from the most unexpected sources. Biological immune systems showed remarkable adaptability. Ecological networks demonstrated resilience through diversity. Cultural exchange revealed the power of misunderstanding and reinterpretation. Each of these became a critical component of the nanite network's design. Begin advanced integration protocol, Sarah instructed. The room came alive with a subtle energy. Millions of nanites began to prepare for their most significant challenge. They were not preparing for conflict, but for the most profound form of communication humanity had ever conceived. Surrounding the main research area, multiple backup systems ensured the integrity of their approach. Quantum-shielded communication cores could redirect, modify, and regenerate signals faster than any known computational method. Multiple layers of electromagnetic protection created a sanctuary of technological innovation. Outside the facility, the cold vacuum of space waited. The Centauri fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were about to encounter a form of technology that would challenge everything they understood about intelligence and interaction. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond established boundaries. The most significant battle would not be fought with traditional weapons, but with the most powerful force in the universe: the ability to understand, to adapt, to transform. The nanite network continued to pulse and shift, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was about to begin, one that would redefine the very concept of technological interaction. Commander Sarah Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, surrounded by a swarm of rapidly shifting nanite-enhanced vessels. The space around them had become a canvas of technological possibility, a living network that defied everything the Centauri Collective understood about warfare, communication, and existence. The approaching alien flagship loomed massive against the starfield, a monument to technological perfection. Its smooth, organic design suggested centuries of computational refinement. Every angle, every surface spoke of a civilization that believed in absolute technological superiority. They would soon learn the true meaning of technological innovation. Quantum entanglement communication protocols are online, reported Dr. Marcus Chen, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with living data. Nanite network is achieving full synchronization. What appeared to be a counterattack was something far more profound. The human vessels didn't move like traditional military units. They flowed like a living organism, each ship an individual, component of a larger adaptive intelligence. Nanite networks spread between vessels, creating connections that went beyond physical limitations. The Centauri flagship's sensors struggled to categorize the incoming approach. Traditional threat assessment protocols began to fail. The human vessels changed configuration faster than computational systems could track. One moment, they appeared as a standard defensive formation. The next, they dissolved and reformed in patterns that defied mathematical prediction. "We're not fighting," Sarah explained to her bridge crew. "We're communicating in the only language they'll understand: complete technological transformation." The quantum entanglement communication system represented humanity's most groundbreaking achievement. It wasn't just a method of sending information, it was a way of sharing entire ecosystems of understanding. Each communication packet carried layers of meaning that went far beyond simple data transmission. As the human vessels approached, they began to interface with the Centauri flagship systems. But this was no traditional hacking attempt. The AIHFY nanite networks didn't seek to destroy or override. They sought to understand, to communicate, to transform. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead systems analyst, monitored the intricate process. "Watch how the nanite network is mapping the alien technological infrastructure," she noted. "We're not breaking their systems. We're having a conversation with them on a fundamental technological level." The bridge crew watched in awe as the AIHFY networks began to spread across the alien vessel. Where traditional military approaches would seek destruction, humanity was attempting something unprecedented. Each nanite became a translator, a diplomat, a bridge between two fundamentally different ways of understanding existence. Quantum synchronization at 78%, Marcus reported. His voice carried a mixture of professional calm and barely contained excitement. The alien systems are beginning to recognize our communication protocols. The USS Defiance itself was unlike any human vessel ever constructed. Its hull could reconfigure in milliseconds, adaptive materials allowing it to change, shape, absorb energy, redistribute computational resources. Traditional concepts of a spaceship no longer applied. This was a living, thinking entity. Outside the vessel, the space around the Centauri flagship began to change. Nanite networks created intricate patterns of communication, transforming the very fabric of space into a medium of understanding. Colors shifted, energy patterns danced. Reality itself seemed to become fluid. Begin advanced integration sequence, Sarah instructed. The bridge erupted into carefully controlled activity. Quantum processors worked in perfect synchronization, translating not just information but entire conceptual frameworks. The human vessels were no longer separate entities. They had become a single, adaptive intelligence. The Centauri flagship systems began to respond in ways its designers could never have anticipated. Computational barriers began to dissolve. Rigid technological frameworks started to become fluid, adaptive. The very concept of a fixed technological system was being challenged. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war. They were rewriting the fundamental understanding of technological interaction. Quantum entanglement is achieving full resonance, Marcus announced. The excitement in his voice was unmistakable. We're establishing first true communication. Outside, the vessel, the cold vacuum of space waited. The battle, if it could be called a battle, was about to enter a phase that would redefine everything the Centauri collective understood about intelligence, communication, and existence. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond established boundaries. The most significant transformation would not be fought with weapons, but with the most powerful force in the universe. The ability to understand, to adapt, to reimagine. The nanite networks continued to pulse and shift, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was about to begin, one that would change everything. The bridge of the USS Defiance fell silent as the first waves of true communication began to ripple through the quantum networks. What the Centauri leadership witnessed was beyond their most fundamental comprehension, a complete dissolution of everything they understood about technological interaction, conflict, and intelligence. Dr. Marcus Chen watched the holographic displays with a mixture of scientific precision and profound wonder. The quantum communication networks were doing something unprecedented. They weren't just exchanging information. They were creating an entirely new form of shared consciousness that transcended traditional boundaries of communication. The alien systems are beginning to experience our perspective, he reported, his voice steady but laden with significance. Not just understand, experience. The Centauri leadership experienced something akin to a collective psychological transformation. Their entire philosophical framework, built on millions of years of computational perfection, began to crumble. Each moment of quantum communication peeled back layers of their technological assumptions, revealing a universe far more complex than their most advanced computational models could have predicted. Massive displays showed the progressive breakdown of the alien fleet's communication systems. But this was not a traditional defeat. The human approach was something far more profound, a complete reimagining of technological interaction. Commander Sarah Rodriguez understood the true nature of their encounter. "We're not conquering," she explained to her bridge crew. "We're inviting them to understand a different way of existing." The quantum networks began to reveal the depth of human potential. Centuries of human creativity, scientific exploration, artistic expression, and philosophical inquiry began to flow through the communication channels. The Centauri were experiencing humanity not as a technological threat, but as a living, breathing ecosystem of possibility. Dr. Elena Martinez monitored the intricate data streams. "Look at how they're processing our cultural information," she noted. "They're experiencing our music, our scientific discoveries, our philosophical debates, not just as data but as living concepts." Entire alien computational systems began to reshape themselves. Rigid frameworks of technological understanding started to become fluid, adaptive. The very concept of a fixed technological civilization was being challenged at its most fundamental level. The nanite networks continued their remarkable transformation. Where the Centauri saw technology as a controlled, predictable system, humanity demonstrated technology as a living, breathing entity, capable of continuous adaptation and growth. "Quantum resonance is achieving unprecedented levels," Marcus reported. The excitement in his voice was unmistakable. "They're no longer just receiving information. They're participating in a shared understanding." The human vessels moved with an almost organic fluidity. Adaptive materials shifted and changed, creating patterns of communication that went far beyond traditional technological interaction. Each vessel became a living translator, a diplomat of possibility. Surrounding the main communication networks, multiple backup systems ensured the integrity of their approach. Quantum-shielded communication cores could redirect, modify, and regenerate signals faster than any known computational method. Multiple layers of electromagnetic protection created a sanctuary of technological innovation. The Centauri leadership found themselves experiencing something they had never encountered: genuine uncertainty. Their entire civilization had been built on the assumption of absolute computational predictability. Humanity introduced them to the concept of possibility, of genuine creativity. "Begin advanced cultural integration protocol," Sarah instructed. The space around the human and alien vessels began to shimmer with unprecedented energy patterns. Quantum communication networks created intricate landscapes of shared understanding. Colors shifted, energy patterns danced, reality itself seemed to become fluid. Humanity wasn't just challenging the Centauri technological framework, they were offering an entirely new way of understanding existence. Each moment of communication peeled back layers of technological and cultural assumptions, revealing a universe of infinite possibility. "Quantum entanglement is achieving full resonance," Marcus announced. The marvel in his voice was unmistakable. "We're establishing a completely new form of communication." Outside the vessels, the cold vacuum of space waited. The encounter, if it could be called an encounter, was rewriting everything the Centauri collective understood about intelligence, communication, and existence. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond established boundaries. The most significant transformation was not about conquest, but about the most powerful force in the universe: the ability to understand, to adapt, to reimagine. The quantum networks continued to pulse and shift, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was unfolding, one that would change everything forever. The moment of transformation stretched across the vast emptiness of space, a singular point where everything humanity understood about communication, conflict, and existence converged. Commander Sarah Rodriguez watched as the quantum networks completed their unprecedented integration, revealing a truth far more profound than any military victory. When the Centauri leadership attempted to initiate their final destruction protocol, they discovered something remarkable. Their most advanced systems had been completely reimagined, not through violence but through a form of communication that defied every computational model they had ever conceived. Dr. Marcus Chen monitored the final stages of quantum entanglement. "We're not just changing their systems," he explained to the bridge crew. "We're offering them an entirely new way of understanding existence." The destruction protocol, a failsafe designed to obliterate entire star systems, began to transform. Lines of code that once represented absolute annihilation now became pathways of communication, cultural exchange, and mutual understanding. The very systems designed to end life were being rewritten to preserve and celebrate it. Holographic displays showed the progressive transformation. Where there had been rigid computational frameworks, now existed fluid, adaptive networks of understanding. The Centauri technological infrastructure was experiencing something unprecedented, a complete reimagining of its fundamental purpose. This is not a defeat, Sarah explained to her team. This is an invitation to a different way of existing. The quantum networks continued their remarkable work. Centuries of human creativity, scientific discoveries, artistic expressions, philosophical inquiries began to flow through the communication channels. The Centauri were experiencing humanity not as a technological threat, but as a living, breathing ecosystem of possibility. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the intricate data streams. "Look at how their systems are processing our information," she noted. "They're experiencing our entire cultural history, not just as data but as living concepts." Surrounding the communication networks, multiple backup systems ensured the integrity of their approach. Quantum-shielded communication cores could redirect, modify, and regenerate signals with unprecedented speed. Multiple layers of electromagnetic protection created a sanctuary of technological innovation. The space around the vessels began to shimmer with energy patterns that defied traditional understanding. Quantum communication networks created intricate landscapes of shared comprehension. Colors shifted, energy patterns danced, and reality itself seemed to become fluid. "Quantum resonance is achieving complete integration," Marcus reported. The marvel in his voice was unmistakable. "We're establishing a completely new form of galactic interaction." The Centauri collective found themselves experiencing something they had never encountered: genuine uncertainty. Their entire civilization had been built on the assumption of absolute computational predictability. Humanity introduced them to the concept of possibility, of genuine creativity, of understanding beyond mathematical precision. What had begun as a potential conflict had transformed into the most significant moment of communication in galactic history. The human vessels moved with an almost organic fluidity, each one a living translator of potential and possibility. "Begin final cultural integration sequence," Sarah instructed. The transformation went beyond technological systems. It was a profound reimagining of what intelligence could be. The Centauri were experiencing the depth of human potential, the capacity to see beyond established boundaries, to understand through empathy, to grow through genuine communication. Entire, alien computational systems began to reshape themselves. Rigid frameworks of technological understanding started to become fluid, adaptive. The very concept of a fixed technological civilization was being challenged at its most fundamental level. Outside, the vessels, the cold vacuum of space, waited. The encounter had rewritten everything the Centauri collective understood about intelligence, communication, and existence. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity to see beyond established boundaries. The most significant transformation was not about conquest but about the most powerful force in the universe, the ability to understand, to adapt, to reimagine. The quantum networks continued to pulse and shift, a living testament to human creativity. In the vast silence of space, a conversation was unfolding, one that would change everything forever. As the final moments of transformation completed, Commander Rodriguez understood the true nature of their encounter. They had not defeated an enemy. They had invited an entire civilization to understand a different way of existing, a way defined by possibility, creativity, and the infinite potential of shared understanding. The universe watched, silent and waiting, as a new chapter of galactic interaction began, born from humanity's most profound quality, the ability to transform conflict into communication, difference into understanding.